Welcome to the house.
To the house.
Episode 3. NFC, AFC North predictions.
Wait a second. Do you smell that? It's football, baby.
Ah, nice.
It's back.
Nice.
Football is back.
If you need homeless services and you're in the age range of 14 to 25, you can take it to my house, 300 North Willow Street, downtown Wasilla. This is a podcast proudly recorded by the My House Podcast Network here out of the My House recording studio at the My House Youth Drop-In Center. Bryan.
Hello.
So we had some difficulties with the last episode, right?
Yeah.
Where our audio was garbage, and then it took us 2 extra days to get it out because we lost everything. Then we found it and we got it out, and I thought it was a great episode based on how you and I were talking. So we just had to leave it. I think I discovered the afternoon after we recorded that maybe my takes are going to get flamed. So I haven't had a chance to get told that I'm dumb yet, but I'm waiting for it.
It's coming, dude. It's coming.
I'm waiting for it. I hope you know that the Locked On Seahawks podcast agrees with me that the Seahawks have the best top 3 wideout receivers in the National Football League this year. So at least if I have a fan take that all the fans agree on.
Okay, I'm just going to throw one team out there. The Houston Texans.
Not who we're talking about, because we're talking about the
NFC,
AFC North.
Don't just skip that.
I don't want to get a bunch of comments telling me that I'm stupid on 2 podcasts. At least for the same thing. If I'm going to get called stupid, I'd rather it be for something different. Okay. NFC, AFC North. Want to start with the NFC again?
Yeah, we can start with the NFC.
Interesting division. I was thinking about this on the way.
Did you watch the Hard Knocks?
No.
The Giants offseason Hard Knocks?
No.
Dude, it explains so much. Of why
about why the Giants suck.
Garbage, dude. Garbage. They let their fan favorite, best player on their roster go. Not only go, didn't just let him go. Let him go to a division rival. That's insane to me.
Yeah, they're a disaster. Yeah. We'll get to them in time. NFC North. I'm going to start with the team that has won both their preseason games, the Chicago Bears, team that has been awful for a good while now. I mean, when was the last time the Bears made the playoffs?
It's been a long time.
Has it been 3-4 years now?
No, it's been longer than that.
Has it?
It's been way longer than that.
Man,
it's been like a decade.
I know that they're garbage the last couple of years, right? But I don't think until now I've ever had the realization oh my gosh, they've sucked for forever.
Top Google for when was the last time the Bears beat the Packers. So that tells you a lot right there.
But okay, so the Chicago Bears are maybe of all the teams that sucked last
2018.
year. 2018.
Okay,
that's 6 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't as long as I thought. I thought it was a lot longer.
That's longer than I thought.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so of all the teams that have sucked and all the teams that have sucked for a while, I think this is the team that people maybe expect to have the biggest improvement this season.
Yeah. I mean,
or one of the biggest.
There's another 3 wide receiver set that you can definitely argue is better than Seattle's. Gosh. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Argue? Sassy girl.
What do you mean? Okay, Keenan Allen, dog. DJ Moore, dog. Roman Dunze, unproven, but looks like a dog.
Are any of those people better than DK Metcalf?
Keenan Allen is. Keenan Allen in his prime. Keenan Allen.
This season?
I mean, last season.
Last
season, Keenan Allen was hurt. And then there's also reports that Keenan Allen's coming in at 230 pounds, which is a huge. He came in at 211 last year. So it's a big jump. But I'm really impressed with what the Bears.
No, yeah, okay. So
were able
that
to
conversation aside, I the Bears. It helps that you have Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And I don't watch a lot of college football. 2 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna be good. I actually that was the one.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for me to notice a story coming out of college football, and I was like, holy cow, this guy's going to be good.
He's going to be good, yeah. And then, too, I was on the side of, why would you've had Justin Fields, give him some weapons.
Right.
And then I watched that preseason game. I just watched, a couple of clips of the Steelers game when Justin Fields was in. And you could clearly tell the Bears were not the problem.
Well, okay, in Justin Fields' defense,
No defense for him. He's a running back trying to play quarterback.
You don't think that he maybe got like kind of similar to your boy Aiden O'Connell got put into the fire and just got crispy before he even had time to like.
No, he was like the number 7 overall pick.
Yeah,
like that's like if you get picked in the top 10, you're expected to be a top 10 player, right?
Sure. Well, I think fair to say that he did not live up to.
And then when you go into
any expectation that was.
Yeah, and then when you go into preseason and you're fumbling snaps and taking sacks and
100%
against second string, third string defenses.
Safe to say that despite Caleb Williams being a rookie, they have a massive upgrade at quarterback.
Yeah. There's people calling for them to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, so I don't want to jump all aboard the hype train here, but I think that again, when we're done and we're looking at how everyone stacks up, I think the Bears may end up being a playoff team for me.
I think they're going to be one game out of the playoffs. I think they're going to be really competitive.
They're going to be fighting. They're going to be in that kind of like Seahawks, like we were talking about last week, like Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. Like these are all teams that are going to be in the playoff hunt for a while. And then it's going to, there's a lot of like in the NFC, I think there's a lot of bubble playoff teams, and that makes it really exciting when you're coming down the stretch. There's going to be a lot of games that you'll want to watch, even if you're not a fan of either team, just because it's going to be desperate football to get those spots. And the NFC North, like again, I was thinking about this on the way over, and I'm like, man, I know I just said that there's 3 teams that could come out of the NFC and be a playoff team, but there could be 3 teams out of the NFC North that are a playoff team. And the problem with that math is that a team from the South and the West has to make the playoffs. And I already am like, man, like I've got 6 playoff teams out of 2 divisions, and that just can't happen. Right. So I agree with you. Bears are a bubble team.
When you have the NFC South, right? Like the NFC South is going to have 1 playoff team, and it's only going to be because they won the division.
Right. And the NFC East, I think we're all expecting like Eagles, Cowboys to be competitive and Giants, Commanders to be not. Right. So yeah, I think that the 2 most interesting divisions playoff wise have got to be the NFC North, NFC West. So I don't want to spend forever on the Bears, even though I think that maybe storyline wise, although
they improved their defense, they improved their offense. The GM was patient and aggressive all at the same time. It's a winning formula for sure.
Who knows what's going to happen? Like they need to prove something. Yeah. But they've just looking at it before a down's been played in the regular season, they look really good.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was going to say maybe this is the most interesting story team wise coming out of the NFC North, but then I'm looking at my NFC North teams and I'm like, crap, like there's some storylines coming out of the Packers and Lions. You want to do the Packers next?
Yeah, let's do the Packers.
Packers
make me so freaking mad.
They have the highest paid quarterback is it of all time?
I don't know if it's of all time. No. But he's up there. But it just drives me nuts because they went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to now Jordan Love, who I knew like it's hard when you're not getting first team reps throughout the whole season. And then, because he had a couple games where Aaron Rodgers went down or something and he had to come in for a game.
I was correct. 4 years, $220 million, making him the highest paid quarterback in NFL history.
I mean, I think it's well deserved though. If you look at what he did on the second half of the season, he started the season hot garbage.
He had a really good,
good
season last half.
But that's what I was getting at, right? So like a lot of people gave him a lot of flack and like he's not going to work because they witnessed mid-season him coming in for a game and he looked like absolute trash, right? But when you're not getting first team reps, when you're not, consistently practicing with those receivers and the offensive line, it's very hard for a QB, arguably the toughest position, to just come in and just immediately have success. And so you've seen what over time that could do. And I think like the biggest thing for Jordan Love is seeing that like he can handle adversity and push through that.
Yeah, I don't want to downplay what he did the second half of last year. I think the problem maybe for me mentally last year is I remember first couple weeks, those primetime pre-games, they're doing interviews with Packer fans about how Jordan Love is the reincarnation of Aaron Rodgers, who is the reincarnation of Brett Favre, just another cog, and the Packers like outstanding quarterback, dynasty pedestal.
Yeah.
and then he sucked.
Yeah.
Like there was all this hype about how Jordan Love is like, okay, like here we continue the Packers tradition of great quarterbacks, and then he was terrible. And then like everyone jumped off the Jordan Love train, and then he was like, okay, great, now I'll start playing actual football.
Right.
So he's got a really good half season under his belt. Does that?
But that's what I'm saying.
$220 million over 4 years for half a season.
You've seen how the consistency and him getting playing time and him getting those reps over the season, right? So now he's more comfortable. He's going to come in with confidence. Because, I mean, he went into the playoffs and absolutely torched one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think we look at that, and my desire to laugh at the Cowboys wants me to say that that's a Cowboys choke instead of a Packers victory. But yeah, he did really good work, and that was a great playoff game. I'm not confident enough to place my flag in the sand. Like, that contract's a bad contract. It's not going to work out. The Packers are overhyped. I think there's a potential of that. I think that he needs to. Football, there's only 17 games, and I think that leads to in the like conversation space, the fan space, like people are way too like snap judgment. Baseball's 162 games, and I struggle with making snap judgments week to week because I'm like, we just lost 6 out of 7 this week. Like, how am I not supposed to freak out? But there's 162 games, so it's like methodical. It's all about patience. Football is like, we lost. You lose one game, you're like, we lost, we suck, we're terrible, we're never making the playoffs. Yeah. And then you win one game, you're like, yep, Steelers gonna Super Bowl. Like,
Well, the season's so short and it can change on a dime, right? Like,
right.
And it's happened repeatedly over the year where you have first 5-6 weeks, this team looks like they're headed for a first round pick. And then next thing you know, they go on a run and they squeak in the playoffs. I think the Packers could be that team again.
If Jordan Love plays like he did the second half of last season, the Packers are a playoff team. I'm probably going to have them second in the division, I think. We talked about the NFC West. There could be 3 playoff teams out of there. I think that the NFC North, if there's going to be 3 playoff teams out of the NFC North, I think it's 3 playoff teams coming out of the same division in the NFC. I think it's probably the NFC North that we see that happen, right? Yeah. Just based off who's in there and how they did last year. I have the Vikings next, and this one I think is a lot easier. If they were going to have any sort of playoff contention, they needed J.J. McCarthy to come in and be a top guy, and he's done.
He's done. Yeah, that sucks.
And the Vikings are going to be basement dwellers.
And it's crazy to me, though. I think the hype on J.J. McCarthy was way too high.
I agree.
They were like, oh, he torched the Raiders. Yeah, he torched the Raiders
third string.
Yeah,
if you watch that game, like and it's the preseason. Like, what are we...
Hold on, though. I will give this, though. Like, I think I've enjoyed even watching just clips more of the preseason because you remember last year.
I didn't watch the preseason last year. And I've watched the Seahawks.
Nobody played. They played like all third string throughout the whole game.
Right.
And they were like, we're not playing preseason, da-da-da-da. And then you seen the effect when it was week 1 and week 2 was like our preseason.
Right.
Because teams were just off. And so I'm so glad that they went back to even just getting a couple reps, get those jitters out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think is super huge. But
do you want to spend any more time on the Vikings other than to say this team's going to be bad?
No, I mean, I don't know that. I mean, they
won their preseason game.
They have arguably,
I mean,
I would say number 2 wide receiver in the league.
Yeah, and he's going to waste away there this year.
I don't know. He freaking went off with Nick Mullins.
Did you watch the Vikings? Because who was the backup that got time in that preseason game? Because they pulled McCarthy after the third quarter.
I don't know. I didn't watch after this.
I think I don't even know who it was. I don't think he played the whole game because then the Seahawks game started. So I also turned it off for the fourth quarter. But I thought that they had thrown their other guy in. So maybe I'm wrong about that. But I don't know. The Vikings already had we don't have any quarterbacks last year. They bring in J.J. McCarthy, hoping that at the very least he's going to see some downs as the first string quarterback at some point during this season. Now he's done.
Well, not only that, like Sam Darnold was a top 5 pick. And I think Sam Darnold got a lot of flack when he went on an absolutely atrocious Giants team.
Yeah.
Or
Jets team.
Jets team, sorry. And so like I'm interested to see what Sam Darnold could do with the pieces around him, and he has some pieces around him. He has a great offensive minded coach and a very disciplined coach, and I think you could be pleasantly surprised. I don't know that they're not going to be division winners, but I think they'll sneak some wins on some teams that you wouldn't expect.
Sure. I don't see any way that this team makes the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not.
I saw like the Cardinals last week. I see a way that the Cardinals could make the playoffs. I don't see a path forward with the rest of their division looking how it does. I don't see a path for the Vikings to make the playoffs, especially because our last team in the NFC North is the Lions, who were
very intriguing to me.
This close,
very close
to being in the Super Bowl last year.
Bad calls. Kick the field goal, buddy.
Yeah.
Like I love being aggressive, and I love that like I trust my team mentality.
Yeah.
But you also have to play the game at the same time.
Yeah, but I mean, people run through a wall for Dan Campbell.
They do. But that's why they're intriguing to me, because you've seen this happen. So Dan Campbell came in and he created this culture and this identity of, we're going to rip your heads off and, take no prisoners.
Basically what AP's trying to do in Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. And
rip.
But so like what you've seen with that is those teams do that and then they get some success and they kind of lean on that back heel a little bit.
Yeah, like the Lions are on a coin edge this year.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to – the Niners, I'm like, yeah, they're going to win the division.
Right.
Then you look at the NFC North. The Lions have 6 games against the NFC North.
Mm-hmm. And
outside the Vikings, I mean, Packers and Bears, I think everyone's expecting both those teams to take a step.
Yeah. And I think their season last year looks insanely different if they didn't beat the Chiefs in week 1. I think that momentum right there carried them through some games. But
when you have a coaching style like that, you're going to be a momentum-based team.
Yeah.
If this team gets off to a hot start, I think they could win the division.
Mm-hmm.
If they run into some problems early on, it's gonna get scary.
Yeah.
Like there's a world where the Detroit Lions, who were in the NFC Championship last year, and I think could be you could make a strong argument that this team could go to the Super Bowl this year. There's a chance they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
I mean, just based off of the division that they're in and where they're at as a team.
The Bears could easily come into Detroit and shock the crap out of them. After not playing a competitive Bears team for so long, I could see you kind of coming in there just kind of like, yeah, we're coming to beat the Bears, and that might not be the case this year.
Yeah, that's just you cannot.
The thing about Caleb Williams is going to be, can you not try to do too much?
Right, like this Lions conversation. I think everything kind of goes back to the Bears with all these teams.
Yeah,
like. Are the Bears going to be competing for a playoff spot, or are they getting overhyped?
Right.
Here's a look at the first couple weeks for the Lions.
Okay.
You got the Rams week 1.
It's
gonna be it's not a tough game. It's not a game that you can.
It is a tough game because Matt Stafford's gonna come in with a bad taste in his mouth.
Let me clarify. It's not like the toughest game you're going to have all season, but it's not an auto win.
Right.
That game is, going to go either way.
Yeah.
You got the Bucks week 2. Not a auto win game. You got the Seahawks week 3.
It's an auto win.
Shut up. the first two games that I would say that, okay, this team is supposed to win these 2 games are week 4, week 5, Titans, Jags. And then you have the Bears week 6. If you come into that first game against a Bears team that, is competing and you're 2-3, even 3-2, that Bears game may decide the rest of your season.
Yeah. Because
you need to come out of that Bears game 4-2.
For sure.
I think.
For sure.
To make a run.
Right.
So Lions are intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's rank the division. I feel like we've spent a lot of time here in the North, but I think that it's worth it because this division's going to be fun to watch this year. What's your ranking?
My ranking is I do have the Lions. I think they're going to win the division.
I think you have to put them there.
Yeah. And I think, as much as I said, I think that Caleb Williams will be able to figure it out, and I think that they'll take number 2. And I think the Packers are greatly underestimating how much Aaron Jones did for their team. And I think they're going to take 3rd, and then I got Vikings last. I think the Packers are going to miss it.
I've got almost the same thing. I've got Lions 1. I'd love to make a bold prediction here, but like, I don't know. This division's already going to be tough to call. So I got Lions 1. I got Vikings 4. I'll go Packers 2. If you're paying a quarterback, if you're giving a quarterback, highest paid quarterback of all time money, you got to be a strong number 2. No doubt that you're making the playoffs. And I think the Packers will be there. If they're not, it's going to be hilarious. I'm going to laugh. And I got the Bears 3. Again, I think of all the divisions, this is maybe in the NFC. This is the one that I could see 3 playoff teams coming out of here. I think we're going to see no fewer than 2. Especially NFC North.
Yeah, especially with the other division.
AFC North, not quite the same thing as its NFC counterpart.
No,
there's a lot of teams that
the AFC is stacked this year.
The AFC is stacked, and there's a lot of teams that are trying to figure it out right now.
And the other part of that is like, the Bengals missed the playoffs last year,
which is nuts.
And so, I
mean,
right. And
but they were dealing with injury. Like they got struck down by the injury bug.
Super bad. And now they're having like contract disputes with Jamar Chase. T. Higgins looks like he's on his way out.
Yeah, it's a big year for them.
And
you want to start with the Bengals?
Yeah, let's start with the Bengals. Joe Burrow can't stay healthy, and he buzzed his hair to Slim Shady. I'm like wondering about his mentality. But I really, really like Joe Burrow. Like,
man, I love Joe Burrow. I love the the Bengals were such a laughing stock.
Yeah.
You know, the Bungles, right?
Yeah.
Make the playoffs, bounced every year. They make a run to the Super Bowl. And I wanted him to win that Super Bowl so bad.
I didn't, though, because it was Matt Stafford, and Matt Stafford is so great.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you're happy for some guys on the Rams. Also, they're playing a divisional rival of my team, so obviously I'm rooting for the Bengals there. But, even when it looked like they were out, they made a push where it was like, hey, we could make the playoffs, and they were a super fun team to root for there down the stretch. It's tough because I don't think they're going to win the division. They need a lot to go right.
I don't know. I think if you,
they've got the pieces there, but when I say they need a lot to go right, it's not about having guys perform. They got guys that can perform. It's just about like, is everyone going to stay healthy, and is everyone going to come together to play football? Because there's a lot of drama going on with this team.
If they stay healthy, I think 1,000% they win the division. I think that
really,
because I think if you look at like the competitiveness of just Joe Burrow, who is your leader. And Jamar Chase, like Jamar Chase wouldn't even say Patrick Mahomes' name on the top 100 interview. Like, he is so done with Patrick Mahomes and wants to just annihilate him. And I think that,
which is funny, but like,
right. But I think that like them missing the playoffs last year and having such success.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to come out with a vengeance. And I mean, they got easy wins against the Browns.
Yeah, probably a team that I've got in the playoffs at the end of the year, but I've got a lot of reservations about that for sure.
It's definitely based on, can Joe Burrow stay healthy?
Sure. Ravens, and that's my pick to take this division. I mean, kind of a team that you like the last 5 years going into every season, you're like, yeah, it's probably the Ravens winning this division. And then they have won the division plenty of times. They've been a playoff team the last 5 years, and yet they still always manage to lose random games that they should have in the bag.
Yeah.
And then they get to the playoffs, and they've won a game now at least. But I mean, you could never argue at the end of a season, and lots of people have argued going into the playoffs that the Ravens are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, when were they ever a serious contender? You know, the Bills, who have been cursed and have made some really questionable decisions this year.
Yeah.
They've gotten bounced early to the Chiefs in incredibly close games. You look back at it like, man, the Bills are right there if they could have just made it past there.
Yeah.
I look at the Ravens and I'm like, I mean, I think you guys will win the division, but then what? Then you're going to be in the same position you've been in for years, and what's going to happen then?
So I think having been so close last year, they're another team that I think is coming out with something to prove, and I think you add, one of the toughest runners, and that's like the type of mentality that Derrick Henry brings to the field is the identity that the Ravens want to have. And they haven't had that, right? Like their starting running back was Gus Edwards last year.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry's on the tail end of his career, but I think he's got a couple more years where he can be a top running back. Yeah. And if he's successful, like I want him to do well because he was stuck on the Titans for forever. Yeah. He was the Titans, basically.
Made that team good.
And I
made Ryan Tannehill look like
that.
A pro.
That dual threat of Lamar, Derrick Henry is why I have them winning the division.
Yeah,
but they gotta exercise some demons.
Yeah, for sure. Playoffs. I just think that's why I have the Bengals winning the division, and it's only because I can see the Ravens fumbling a game or two, and just.
It's part of their DNA.
It is. It really is. And I would love, Lamar looks good this year. He's dropped some weight. You can tell he wants to be able to move a little bit more, which is insane because he moves like a freaking wide receiver running back put together and then can sling the ball. But he makes questionable decisions when he's forced to. If a team can keep him contained. Yeah. And he's forced to sit in the pocket, he makes very questionable decisions, and that's what
I think it's harder to contain Lamar when you have to worry about Derrick Henry coming out of the backfield. Yeah. My hesitation with this team has nothing to do with like the team that they've assembled. Yeah. They could, if they make the Super Bowl, I'm not like, you've got all the pieces. You've been to the AFC Championship. Like, yes, we expect you to be at this level, but also. Looking back the last 5 seasons, like I look at it's kind of like the Raiders for me. Like I look at a team that it doesn't matter who's here. Part of your DNA is you just lose games that you're supposed to. With the Raiders, I'm like, it doesn't matter who's here. You guys make stupid personnel decisions all the time. Doesn't matter who's in charge. You guys can't make good personnel decisions. The Ravens, I'm like, you made all the right personnel decisions, and then you lose games that you should have no problem with. Like your offense just all of a sudden like drops off the face of the planet. So. Yeah. And part of that reputation is because they dealt with some injury trouble a couple years ago. And so maybe that's not entirely fair to them. Like, could they have made another run to an AFC championship game in 2022, 2021 if they weren't dealing with injury troubles? I don't know.
It's going to really depend on can the receivers step up? Can Mark Andrews stay healthy?
Sure.
And what is Derrick Henry last few seasons in the league?
What do they look like? Yeah. I think they could be a super fun team to watch. I think they could be a major disappointment. Sure. Let's go to the Steelers.
Is Brandon Ayuk going to the Steelers?
I don't know.
I'm so sick of hearing about it. Like, just freaking trade him already.
Kiss and make up. Like,
so stupid.
What are we doing?
I don't know.
The Steelers have Russell Wilson now, which means I hate them.
I don't know why he brought you guys a Super Bowl.
No. Not actually. I mean, I think that first season with the Broncos, I'm all about the Russell Wilson hate. Then last year, it's kind of like the bully. It's kind of like the bully that you saw that scorned you, or maybe it's your ex-girlfriend that scorned you, and you're like, yeah, I'm glad that didn't happen to you. And then like the next year, they're living in a dumpster, and I'm just like, oh man, I feel bad. I'm sorry, ex-girlfriend, that you had Sean Payton as your head coach. So he could
Mr. Unlimited, bro. It's Mr. Unlimited.
Steelers country. Let's ride. Yeah. Let's smelt.
Yeah,
that's whatever Steelers do.
I think the Steelers are going to be good for Russell Wilson. I think that type of culture and that atmosphere is what he needs. And you look at Mike Tomlin, Mike
Tomlin's not going to have a losing record because that would be too much to ask.
It's been 10 years.
No, he's never had a losing record.
Never.
Mike Tomlin, and he's been the coach of the Steelers for 20 plus years, I think now, has not once ever had a losing record.
That's so wild.
So, but that being said,
he did that with Kenny Pickett. Russell Wilson isn't like his former all-pro self, but I don't think he's washed like everybody says that.
Well, he won't have Matt Canada running the offense. So, right. And he won't have to deal with Sean Payton. Yeah. That being said, the Steelers are an aggressively mid team.
Yeah.
And barring any major injuries from the Ravens and Bengals, I think they're going to have a tough time. They're the Cardinals for me. I keep using that as my comparison because that's one of the first teams we looked at. Like, you know, are they capable of making the playoffs? Maybe as like a 7 seed. Do I expect them to be there? No. They're a 9-8 team.
I just think that they can't with the Bengals coming back healthy, with the Jets coming back healthy, and both teams missed the playoffs. The Texans are on the rise.
It's a lot of AFC.
You don't know what the Colts
that are
going to
be fighting for that wild card spot.
Yeah. And so there's teams that are playoff teams that missed the playoffs last year based on injury that are healthy this year.
Yep.
And it's going to be hard for the Steelers to sneak past that.
100%. Let's touch on the Browns quick. Kind of like Deshaun Watson. Touches on masseuses. Nope, we're going to have to cut that. Sorry. Is there a team more unlikable than the Cleveland Browns? I hate Deshaun Watson. I hate this team.
Dude. What makes me mad, though, is like I used to root for the Browns because they were like the underdog, right?
It's like the Leafs or the Mariners. Like, you suck. Please do something. And then they got Baker Mayfield. And I was like...
He was a dog.
I was like, man, like Baker Mayfield's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And then the Browns played Baker Mayfield, destroyed his arm, and then we're like... Baker, why can't you throw the ball? I know that you have no shoulder ligaments left, but you suck, man. We're going to go get Deshaun Watson.
It's because you're filming too many commercials.
Who's
Baker.
In the middle of a legal dispute because he's a piece of garbage.
And we're going to ruin the league. Deshaun Watson's deal ruined the league because they gave him all of that guaranteed money. And so now every single player will not sign a deal unless like 80% of it minimum is guaranteed.
Nothing makes me happier than watching Deshaun Watson pick himself up the ground after being sacked for the 14th time in a game. I hope the Browns go 0-17.
Same.
And I don't think that they're a playoff team. I think that they're not bad enough to get a number 1 overall pick. They're not good enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
and you know what?
10 pick.
Good, because I am so upset that I was excited to watch this team have success. I've never seen a team,
but they made the playoffs.
Turn. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, they made the playoffs. Well, that made the Browns exciting last year because
the bottom of the middle of the AFC was so bad last year.
They brought Joe Flacco back from the dead.
I know, and I wanted to root for Joe Flacco, but I'm like, you're on the Browns.
Yeah,
I forgot they made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, they made the playoffs, and then
they were the 6 and 7 seeds in the AFC were such a joke. They were the 5 seed, weren't they?
I don't think so.
I have to check. What was the AFC playoffs? Hang on. This is bad. This is bad content, but I'm going to look it up right now because I just need to see what the seeds were.
Because the Ravens won the division, so there's no way they could have been the 5th seed.
No.
There's no way.
Someone give me it. Oh, now I'm going to get Google's AI. They were the 5 seed.
They were the 5 seed.
They were the 5 seed.
I thought the Steelers won more.
No, and then they lost to the Texans.
Yeah. I thought the Steelers won more games.
No, the Steelers were the 7 seed, and the Dolphins were the 6 seed because they choked.
Yeah.
I don't have this team making the playoffs. And maybe that's me wishing them nothing.
They have one of the best edge rushers in the world. They have a name. Nick Chubb blew his knee out.
Here's the AFC playoffs. Ravens number 1. Bills number 2. Chiefs number 3. Texans number 4. I think those 4 teams are all making the playoffs again this year. Dolphins were number 6, and they underperformed. I think they're making the playoffs this year. I think the Bengals aren't missing the playoffs. The Jets are going to take a step. The Colts are capable of taking a step.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos are capable of fighting for a playoffs.
Disgusting.
How could you? The Raiders are going to be competing for it.
Please roast this man in the comments.
So
That is the dumbest thing I've ever
said they're
heard.
capable.
They are not.
They're
the Broncos.
End of the line is I might be just upset with the Browns, and so I don't want them to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think the Bengals are not going to have the season that they had last year, and I hate the Browns for making me like them, and then immediately squandering that and doing my boy Baker dirty. So, yeah. Screw the Browns.
Yeah, let's break it down.
Let's rank them. I got Ravens number 1, Bengals number 2. Put the Browns in 3 because I forgot they made the playoffs last year, and I'll put the Steelers 4. I'm gonna be really upset when the Browns are 2 in the division.
Steelers 4. Okay, so I have it. Bengals. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Steelers. Ravens. Browns. Yeah.
You have the Steelers in second?
Yeah, I think that the Steelers, I think they're just so well coached. I
did say they were going to go 9-8.
I think
that, but I forgot the Browns made the playoffs last year.
I think that they're going to like sneak like a couple wins on the Ravens.
The bottom 3 teams of the AFC were such garbage last year. Get rid of the 7 seed again.
And I just I think people are underplaying Russell Wilson. And if they get Brandon Ayuk, and you got George Pickens
that changes
and Brandon
things.
Ayuk.
We're recording this on Thursday, August 15th. So when this comes out on Monday, don't light me up after this trade goes down. I don't know. Steelers 3, Browns 4. I think number 1 and 2 is Bengals, Ravens. But who knows? This division's a mess.
Yeah. It's a toss-up, honestly. Between 3 teams, I think it's a toss-up.
Yeah.
Like I can't see the Steelers winning the division, but I can see them sneaking into second and sneaking in a playoff spot.
I don't know.
And I can see the Ravens.
You need Russell Wilson to bounce back after not playing the second half of last season. I'm not saying he's capable of doing it, but it's going to be tough for them.
I could see the Ravens just like fumbling like some super important games and missing the playoffs.
Before we get out of here, the other duties as assigned, Fantasy Football League, My House Fantasy Football League. We are currently soliciting teams, and we'll have more information about this next week, but we're going to be doing some coverage about where all our staff members are at. Let's just really quick, because we've gone a little bit long, I'm sure. What's your team name?
Just win, baby.
My team name is Kenneth Walker, Texas Ranger. Is
that
good?
Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
I usually don't add like a team name until I draft, so
fair
that
enough.
I can put it.
I mean, I might
my best players.
K9's not a bad running back pick.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. Remember that when even when we're rooting against each other, sports bring us all together.
Together.
And we'll see you next time on To the House.
To the House.
To the House.